mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Act 3 of Netflix's docuseries Jeen-Yuhs about Kanye West, entitled Awakening. This episode is very, very different from the first two. You know, the first two kind of focus on, not even focus, it's concentrated on that time pre-college dropout, before Kanye's really gotten famous, when he's just grinding, when he's believing in himself, and when he's focused on becoming the next big rapper and fashion guy. But this episode kind of focuses on the 18 years since, and that's all kind of loosely packed into this hour and a half of this final act. And what's missing here is that insight, that fly on the wall feeling that you get in the first two episodes, because we see this intimate portrait of Kanye. We see what he's like behind the scenes, behind closed doors, when he's with his people. In this episode, we don't see that, because as he got more famous and the people around him changed, Cootie was around less, so Cootie wasn't recording that much film, or as much film. And a lot of what we see is like montages of like Kanye rants and bad moments. There's like 3 or 4 of those in this episode. We see footage that you can pretty much get anywhere, media footage, anything you could like Google. You know, I don't want to say not found footage, but like footage that anybody can get, not anything that's intimate or behind the scenes. And we just get a lot of Cootie narration that at times almost feels like this episode is being used as a vehicle to give some shine to like his daughter or his family and things like that, which, his daughter's adorable, but like, I'm sitting here watching this and I'm like, oh, his daughter's adorable, but also why am I seeing this right now? What does this give me? What level of insight does this give me into Kanye West, to see Cootie's adorable daughter, see what he was doing when he wasn't with Kanye, or to see, about his father's death, Cootie's father, and Cootie's father's death is obviously important to him, but I'm wondering, again, why are we seeing this? And I'm thinking like, okay, maybe this is going to tie in to maybe help mend his relationship with Kanye. Maybe, Kanye's gonna be like, oh man, I heard your pops died. Come on out to Wyoming, we can kick it, and they get cool again or whatever. But that never happens. So it almost feels like this episode, I don't want to say it's forced, because we need this episode, because we need to see this side of him, and we need to see, what he was like over the course of, not just over the course of the 18 years, but over the course of the times post his mother's passing. We needed to get a little bit more insight into that, because that builds the overall picture, right? Kanye West, when we look at him right now, that's what we see. We're a what have you done for me lately culture. So we're not thinking about the Kanye West that we saw in 2003, 2004, 2005. When we think about Kanye right now, we're thinking about the Kanye West we saw last week or the week before that. And we need to we need to get the big picture, the overall picture. So we do need to see, even though we've already seen it, this stuff that happened post his mother's death. But it's nowhere near as compelling as the stuff we saw, because we have largely been along with him on this ride. In some way, equally as much as Cootie has been, because Cootie wasn't around. And he's talking about, like, I think there was like a portion where he's talking about like 6 years they didn't really talk or anything like that. Like, we were still watching Kanye do all of these things. Like, none of this stuff is new to us. The Taylor Swift, the Sway interviews, the presidential run, the MAGA shit, like none of this is new to us. So I think that makes this episode a lot less compelling. But like I said, it is necessary. Let's see, where do I want to go from here? So I mentioned there's a lot of montages. And the montages, I think, are interesting in the fact that they exist, because it just kind of then leans into more so the fact that Cootie was just not around at that time. So like we get several montages, like again, like I said, of video and moments that we could go on YouTube and see. And it kind of just feels like you didn't have enough footage here to really justify a third 1.5 hour long episode. So it's just a whole lot of montages, a whole lot of footage we've already seen. And it does kind of feel like, even though on one hand I know this episode is necessary to paint the overall picture, it kind of feels unnecessary because it doesn't really provide anything new. It provides very little context. So yeah, there's a lot to be desired here. So one thing that I think I picked up on the most in this episode, and this was my biggest takeaway for me, aside from Cootie's lack of involvement, is that when you're somebody like Kanye West who might struggle with mental health issues, I think, and this is my completely non-expert opinion, I think it's probably best to have your people around you. So like if I had mental health issues and I got famous, it's not best for me to have fucking Justin Bieber around me or fucking Usher or whoever the fuck, right? I should have the people who know me this whole time, who know me in a real way, to be around me and keep me grounded. And I think that losing his mother combined with the change in who he was around. I'll give you an example. There's a whole lot of yes men around Kanye that we see in this episode. And Kanye, there's a whole lot of like there's nonsensical raps. Not even just nonsensical, incoherent. Where like even the subtitles are like, I don't know what the fuck he just said. Like nonsensical, incoherent raps, rants that sound like a fucking Kevin Gates meme that's like fake deep, that's really stupid, but it sounds deep. Like that's what I've always said about Kevin Gates. He a dumb motherfucker, but he sounds smart because he says fake deep shit in a smart sounding voice that's supposed to make you go, oh, right. I never thought of it that way. But it's really not anything deep at all. And most of the time, it don't even make any fucking sense. Like one of motherfuckers who smoke a whole lot of weed and then they think that they're all of a sudden fucking Socrates and shit. That's what Kanye seemed like all the time. And the problem is he didn't have the right people around him to go, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that doesn't make any sense, Kanye. Kanye, that rap was kind of whack, bro. Like that's not it. He's only got people around him who are patting him on the back, co-signing everything he says, and essentially just enabling him. Cootie even does it at one point where he enables him. He's, oh man, I wish I could remember what he said. But Cootie said something in his narration that it was something to the effect of like, Kanye sounded crazy, but I just felt I need to be there for my brother. Like, instead of just, be there to support him or whatever, instead of being honest with him and saying, that's not a good look. And I think the most telling moment of this, at least for me, this is when it really hit for me. He's on the phone with Rick Rubin, and they're talking about how excited they are to see one another. And Rick Rubin says, yeah, I'm really excited. And Kanye goes on this like little miniature rant about how the term excited has a little bit of negativity in it. Because he was like, yeah, if somebody said they got you a new car and it was parked across the street and you might be excited and you run into the street to go to your new car, you might get hit by a car coming down the street. So that's why I don't like to say excited. I like to say energized. Like, and Rick Rubin goes, I'm not trying to correct you or nothing like that. And Rick Rubin goes, no, I like learning something new. Rick Rubin should have said, what the fuck are you talking about? That's a stupid fucking thing to say, Kanye. But he didn't, and no one says that to him. And I mean, I can understand why Joe Blow and his crew might not say that, but it's not like Rick Rubin is somebody whose career relies upon, or whose career or livelihood relies upon Kanye West's approval. It doesn't. He's fucking Rick Rubin. So like, even Rick Rubin kind of like kowtow to Kanye's ridiculous rants. It's disheartening to know that you have a guy with so much potential who is an artist and who wants to create, but he's not right in the head. He doesn't have this person that grounds him around anymore. And then he's surrounded by a whole bunch of people who are too chicken shit to tell him that he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, or to say, I disagree with that, or I don't think that's a good idea, or that wasn't a good rap, or that's not a good song. That doesn't make any sense what you just said there. You're ranting right now. You stopped making sense 20 minutes ago. Nobody says that shit to him. All he does is he gets that behavior reinforced. And that's my biggest takeaway from this episode, is that, this is a guy who struggles with mental health, who lost the person that grounds him, and then now comes from being somebody who was motivated, driven by purpose, and so confident in himself to someone who's massively arrogant and doesn't have anyone around him to kind of pop that big ass head of his. And I don't mean that physically. I mean it like a balloon, essentially. And that was my biggest takeaway. And that's why I do say we needed this episode, but it just was not as compelling. I know I've said that like 17 times already. There's several moments where Cootie cuts the camera off. And we know that this is important because after the first time he does it, he says that he didn't feel comfortable recording Kanye in like that state. Like it was one of his rants or whatever that doesn't make any sense. And he cut the camera off and he said like, I didn't feel comfortable with recording that. And then like 2 or 3 more times after that, we see Kanye going in a rant and the camera just cut off. And I'm like, man, like think about how many times of the first 2 episodes where Cootie had to go, I don't know about this. Let me cut this off. 0. That's how many times that happened. But it happens like 3 or 4 times in this episode. And I think that's really telling about not just how Kanye's behavior changed, but how the perception of his behavior changed. Cootie knew he was off, but he valued, he was so, I think, personally offended or saddened. I don't want to say offended, saddened by his kind of like, the way he was kind of like pushed out of Kanye's life to a degree, that when he saw an opportunity to get back in Kanye's good graces, he just kind of just went along with everything instead of like actually saying, yo, homie, like that's not cool. Like if this channel ever popped off and I got like mad arrogant or some shit, I'm like, nobody can fuck with me on these TV and movie reviews, and I hop on here and I'm saying, wow, like ridiculous shit that doesn't make any sense, I would expect one of my homeboys to be like, bro, like what the fuck are you talking about? Like don't even say that. Like what are you talking about? Like to help ground me. And I would keep those people around. It's not like TV critics got a fucking a crazy ass entourage and shit like that, but still, that's what I think you kind of need. And I think Cootie failed Kanye in that way. I don't think Cootie's ever gonna watch this, but if he were to watch it, I would say that like, I know he was hurt by being pushed out of Kanye's life to a degree, but when he got back into it and the times that he did, he seemed to really only enable Kanye's behavior, because I think he was too I don't want to say scared, because that's not the right word, but apprehensive about being critical of Kanye and ending up on the outside looking in again. And that's a real feeling. Like I get that, but I mean, like look at him, man. Like this is a guy who right now people hate his guts, and they loved him 10 years ago. Maybe not as recent. Yeah, no, what the 10 years ago, people loved him. And now people are acting like that shit didn't even happen. Like this is the only Kanye we've ever known. And people are rewriting history of the greatness that he accomplished and who he used to be and what he used to do, because they hate him so much right now. And so many people have enabled this behavior. And I'm watching this, I'm like, this ain't even the same dude. These raps are fucking terrible. He's not even making sense. Like in the way of like, there's like literally incoherent rambling, like words, there's not even words. So, I guess, yeah, I'm kind of at a loss because I'm just really disappointed, I guess, that to see who he was, who he became, and then who he is now. And it's just sad to see something like that, man. Like a regular fucking dude from the hood, just like me, a regular fucking guy from Detroit. He's a regular fucking guy from Chicago who was very smart, very creative, very driven, all of that, all this potential. And he reached it, man. He's a fucking star. But to like see him just be like weird and different and not who he was mentally, and to see all those people around him enabling that, it fucking sucks, man. And I think the most telling scene in this episode is actually the very first one. It's a scene, it's an older scene though, but it kind of gives you an idea of the guy that Kanye was going to become. And he's arguing with Rhymefest about Rhymefest not being comfortable with calling him a genius. And he's like, I don't really want to call you a genius. You know, he's like, I can't remember the word he used, but maybe he said brilliant, I think. But he was like, I was in the studio with Jay-Z and he wrote a song in like 5 minutes. And I'm like, that motherfucker's a genius. And Kanye was so offended that Rhymefest would not call him a genius. And Rhymefest is like, that's not even for you to do. Like, that's for somebody else to call you that. Like, how you over here being offended that you calling yourself a genius and I don't agree. And I think that is kind of like the best example of Kanye's mindset and how he tap dances on that line between driven and confident and then like arrogant and obnoxious, and how he tap dances that line. I think that's kind of that scene kind of shows him dipping his toe into the other side, the crossing that line into arrogance and obnoxiousness. You know what they always say, you know, you if you're the smartest person in the room, you in the wrong room. And I think there's something to be said about Kanye feeling like he's the smartest person in the room in every room that he goes in. Like I feel like there needs to be some level of humility there, because how do you grow? And I think he would probably agree with that. The problem is that he doesn't realize he's not growing. I think he thinks he is, and I don't think he is. I think he's regressing a little bit. And he needs that proper circle around him. And you know, if you think that every room you go in, you the smartest person in there, you a genius, you're a god. If you think that about yourself, where is your opportunity to grow if you already think you perfect? And I don't know. This is my own personal rant, but I mean that's what we're meant to do from watching these episodes, is to gain some insight into Kanye and to kind of maybe like apply that to our real life and apply that to our perception of him. And so that's what I'm doing here. But overall, I thought this was an incredible docuseries, because I love getting the insight and getting a peek into his mind, whether it was for the good or for the bad. I love seeing that. I thought the first 2 episodes were absolutely incredible, and I don't want to knock this episode for not being as compelling, when again the story needs to be told of how he kind of alienated the people close to him, and then how his mother's death kind of caused this descent into whatever the fuck he is right now. So all in all, good. Where am I at? 16 minutes, way longer than I expected. I'm sorry, I got to rant myself like I'm fucking Kanye. But pause. And but yeah, I love this docuseries, and I thought it was great. I highly recommend everybody watch it, even if you're somebody who currently is kind of stuck in that I hate Kanye right now thing. I think that especially those first 2 episodes, they can give you a different way of looking at him that might give you a little bit more respect for what he's done, what he's accomplished, who he was, who he is to some degree. And just a different look on his life and his accomplishments. So that's all I got for this one. We don't have any more episodes, so hopefully you'll stick around. Check out my early review of the Batman. Subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.